Hi, happy December. So we are finally at the end of the year. Hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. And here's important things to remember coming at the end of the year. In December, it's very important for you to keep your December statement. Every month, our statements have year-to-date information, but the December statement is the one that you will need to take to your CPA or the person that prepares your taxes so they know the expenses you have had, such as the management fees, if we paid property taxes, association fees, anything that you have paid, it would be on your December statement year-to-date, the accumulated money that you have paid. And your CPA might find those items useful for your taxes to be able to write them off. And that's, they're the experts. So then let's talk about the market. So Las Vegas is a little bit slow, and I'm just going to give you my opinion. And I'm also going to be sending out the October data report, which just came out. It's usually about a month, 2 months behind, but I'll be sharing that by the time you receive your December statement if you want to look through it as far as snapshots of the market. But let me tell you just briefly a little bit about the market. So yes, the interest rates have dropped. It is said that they might drop a little bit more. And let me read a little bit of my notes that I have taken. So at this moment today, which is November, Thanksgiving Day, we have 3,077 new listings. And that is when I search houses, single family houses for sale. And that is a 7.3% increase over last year. And what it means is that we have 7.3% more homes for sale this year than we did last year at the same time. The average price at this moment is $474,370, and we have about 4.4 months of inventory. So there is quite a bit of properties on the market, allowing the buyer to have a lot of choices in their properties and making it a buyer's market, in my opinion. So now let's talk about rental market. We have had a change in rental market. You heard me say this over and over for the last 2 months and on our weekly updates, how the enormous amount of apartments that have been built in Las Vegas have affected the market. You probably by now heard about the Zillow lawsuit that has happened. Well, if I have spoken to you in person or even on email and you ever brought up Zillow, I always say Zillow does not compare apples to apples. And it always makes it hard for a client to understand why, if Zillow's estimate gives you a number and we on the other side, the live side, the realtors, give you a different number. So we have to base it on data. We have to base it on the actual numbers of the true market, because when a property is being appraised, that's what the appraiser is going to look. They're not going to look at the Zestimate. And part of the lawsuit, it mentions Zillow inflating prices. So just keep that in mind, because I still hear that from landlords when we're showing you the numbers as to what is the market doing. The rents have dropped significantly, about 15% in my opinion. It seems like Henderson is about 4% and Las Vegas is about 4.5%, and there's some other sides of town that are more positive, as the RJ was talking about, which is where the new apartments have been built, or high rises. Because this is one of the problems with Zillow, is that they will compare a high rise of $1 million, a house of $600,000-$700,000, and a condo of 250, 300,000 to come up with a market value, because they're looking at the zip code. They're not looking at the subdivision, the size, the year, apples to apples. So this is our goal when we do the weekly updates. At least once a month, I pull comps. My staff will give you a market update every week because we talk about what's happening in the market. But I like to pull numbers to show you the numbers. And it is unfortunate that the rents have dropped. But like everything, what drops will eventually rise again. And the leases are only for 1 year because there's changes in a year. And hopefully they will be positive. And at that time, the rent can be revised. And if needed, we can increase it. So the goal is to get the properties rented, to get you to stop paying for utilities and the risk of having squatters move in because the properties are vacant. That is why it's important to do our best to rent these properties as quickly as possible. I have also encountered in the last 2 months, particularly this last month, a lot of non-qualified applicants. So I'm sure you heard about AI, and a lot of applicants are using AI to complete the documents they need for applications and verifications. And that could be bank statements. It could also be their pay stubs. So we not only are running the background checks, but we're also doing the manual work, which is verifying the paychecks, verifying the income that they're telling us that it's coming in, running that credit report if something doesn't look right, to verify and ask more questions. Really verifying with the previous landlord, because many times, and I'm sure you probably heard this, is when you're asking for references, the people that are on the references are going to provide a positive reference. But we want to know the truth. We don't want to be in a hurry to rent your property and put somebody in the property that long-term is going to cost more money. So we are seeing a lot of that, a lot of false information out there. It is a tough market. So that's why properties are taking a little bit longer to rent, not just the fact that the market has decreased, that there is a huge inventory, but also the number of applicants that are not qualified. And it's more than just credit number. There's a lot of things that have to be taken into account, such as I said, rental history. It's very important. You do not want to put a person in your house who just came out of an eviction. So ultimately, the landlord always has the final word when it's questionable. Even if I don't agree and you as a landlord tell me, yes, you want to rent to this person, we'll proceed and do what you tell us as the landlord. A final reminder on vendors. So we talk about this many times throughout the year, and I want to remind everybody in December. So any property older than 1978, the vendor has to be EPA certified to work on the property. That includes the landlord and the property manager. So we are certified. The vendors that we will send out to a property that it's 1978 or older are EPA certified. If they're not, and you are caught using a vendor that it's not certified, the fines are huge. They're about $3,700 a day. So we don't want to go there. If you have a preferred vendor, then do it now. Do not wait until it's needed. We need to know their name and phone number, because we will need to call them and ask them for a copy of their license, a copy of their insurance, and their paperwork such as W-9, IDs. We need to protect you protect us and protect the tenant and stay in compliance with the law. With that said, let's talk about a little bit of rental numbers. So today I am looking at single family homes to make it simple, because properties range from thousands of dollars in rent to $1,000. So it's hard to give you one number or an average number. So let's look at single family homes. Today we have 2,791 available single family homes on the market for rent. And condos, we have 536 condos available for rent today. And this is Thanksgiving Day. So what are we doing here? We have more rental properties on the market than there is tenants. And the tenants have a lot of choices. We get a lot of tenants or applicants also making offers on the rental property. But if you're not priced correctly, they are bypassing the property because there's so many to choose from. Also keep in mind that these prices are including the all-inclusive rent, which, remember, on October 1st, the new law passed that we have to have one number, which is called the periodic rent. And that is, you cannot add sewer and trash, pool service, landscaping, anything else to it. It's one number. So if we say the house is renting for $1,700, it's all we can charge that tenant. Hopefully I was able to explain a little bit of what's going on, and hopefully you will have a wonderful end of the year. Look forward to working with you in 2026. Every year since the last 2 years, I have, with my staff, put together a landlord handbook. And this covers a lot of the questions the landlords have, and if there's any changes in the laws that we may have discussed already, they go in the landlord handbook. So 2026 handbook, it's going to be going out with your December statement. And there's not many changes. It's just going to reflect the periodic rent, the adjustment home inspections, because in 25 we tested using professional home inspections, and we're going to continue to do that in 2026. This gives you a better view of the condition of your property, not necessarily just a tenant's possibility of damage or responsibility, but also as a landlord, things that you may want to take care of ahead of time before thinking of selling, or just as a maintenance, so that your property is in top shape and be competitive, and also long run be in less of an expense when you're ready to make a change, such as selling your property or finding a new tenant, that you are competitive. With that said, we will be closed Christmas Day and New Year's Day. And in 2026, I am experimenting, changing softwares. I am a little bit hesitant because of how hard it is to change softwares and move the data, and retraining tenants as well as landlords on the use of the software. So I'm not 100%. We'll let you know if I decide to do that in January, just because it will have a little bit more of an edge with AI and accountability. But for sure in January, I am going to implement AI for 24/7 maintenance. And even though we do look at maintenance requests and emergencies 24/7, I want to be more efficient and be able to have a 24/7 answering system that speaks English and Spanish and can handle repairs. So if you have a home warranty, then we're going to ask you again to put your home warranty, with your home warranty, a credit card on file and authorize us to open those work orders. If there's a couple of home warranty companies that it's no problem, and then we're able to do that without having to call you. And there's several of them that unfortunately we have to call you to authorize us at that moment and make that payment for the copay, or they will not open the work order. And those are the things that I'm experimenting with, so that AI will be able to function 24/7 without waiting to reach out to you, the landlord, to give that final authorization for the home warranty. Because remember that part of the changes in the law is that we cannot charge the tenant for the copays on home warranties. Well, anyways, this has been a lot of information, and wishing you the best of 2026. Thank you.